This is spoiler.
I think instead of the usual quote at the beginning, I just want to put in Splinter's Cowabunga line. Insert here.
Cowabunga!
I have always liked Cowabunga. Huh? Cowabunga! I made a funny.
On the half shell, they're the heroes for. In this day and age, who could have...
Let me take you guys back to a time. It was summertime, 1990.
Josh was 18 years
Little
old.
Josh was 5 years old. For over half my life.
29th birthday.
For over half of my life, I had been watching, learning about the Turtles. And finally, this movie comes to the big screen. I was pumped. This is maybe the first movie I ever remember seeing in a theater. But before we get into it, I want to go around the table here and sitting uncomfortably close because my mic isn't very loud. Stevie Putnam.
It's Putt Man.
That's what I said.
But I think the biggest plot twist out of all that is your dad took you to the theaters with the intention of seeing the Turtles, but he took you to see Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven instead. I gotta imagine that happened at some point.
Is that true?
My dad doesn't see movies in the theaters. He sees them on the couch. You guys know this.
Okay, but yes, this is Stevie recording pretty much nearly...
Stevie Putnam.
Yeah, you can call me Putnam for now. It's fine. I deserve that. I have no mic. I'm homeless in the podcast world. But, yeah, pumped to be here, talk about the Turtles.
Who's your favorite turtle?
Oh, easily Donatello.
Easily. Wow. All right, let's move over to Pappy. You're in Colorado, so you can...
Yep.
Everyone knows Pappy, but who's your favorite turtle?
I can't tell them apart.
Oh.
Okay, Pappy, side question. Why are you mad at Stevie?
Oh, because, so, on...
This is a true story. I was pretty bad friend about this.
On Thursday night, Stevie calls me out of the blue. I'm driving home, like, oh, that's nice. I call from my friend Stevie. He's all jacked up. He's like, hey, like, just like pumped from having a good day at work or something. He's like, hey,
I
you want to
worked
watch...
a 14-hour day.
You want to watch Turtles together this weekend? I'm like, hell yeah, man, that's a good idea. Now, keep that in mind. Stevie called me and asked me if I wanted to watch Turtles with him. So Friday rolls around like we're both busy, no big deal.
I see where this is going.
Yeah,
Saturday.
long story short, we never watched it together. Pappy's
Hey,
real
Stevie,
grumpy
Stevie,
about
when
it.
do you want to watch Turtles? He's like, oh, I don't know, on the morrow was his exact quote.
Those were the exact words I used.
So the morrow finally arrives, and then like just he
I ghosted
me.
Pappy.
ghosts me
But
all
I
day.
honestly thought I told him, go on without me.
What
but
you said you thought you texted me go on without me. Who thinks they text something? That's just a bold-faced lie. You just
Gee,
forgot.
I thought I sent it, brah.
You just no, you didn't. That's not a real thing people do.
Thought I sent it, brah. Thought I sent it.
Speaking
It's a
of
weak-ass excuse.
Speaking of friends getting in fights, a man that I've lived to see many morrows with, Brett Kelly. How you doing, buddy?
Good transition.
Doing pretty well, man.
Can you
Doing pretty
remember
well.
a good fight from us, so we can like one up these guys, or should we just let them
Yeah.
have it?
Oh, man. I don't know. We've gotten in a lot of, not physical fights, because, you know, you would have learned your lesson immediately, but...
Yeah, I remember one time you burned my neck with a cigarette. But anyway, who's your favorite turtle, Brett?
Donnie edges out Michelangelo. Donatello.
Which one's that?
The purple
Purple.
one.
Shut up, Pappy. That's not a real thing people do.
I
Get
don't
the
know.
turtles mixed up.
For real, Pappy?
They all have very distinct personalities.
The lighting is so bad in this movie, I can't tell the blue and the purple apart. I'm like pulling a long fake colorblind over here. I
You
can't
can't see
tell them
that
apart.
big stick versus the swords. Is that not a dead giveaway if you're having trouble?
I don't know.
I don't think Pappy enjoyed this movie.
Does your computer not have brightness, contrast controls? Or...
Oh, maybe. No, I told you, I'm just like a fake line colorblind. Fake long colorblind when it comes in handy. I'm colorblind.
All right.
Poor Jordan.
Well, let's get into the movie a little bit. And on that note about it having like bad lighting, I think there are a couple bad technical things in this. It is a pretty dark movie, and I mean that not in like the plot was dark. It's literally you kind of have to squint to see everything. But this movie made a
bunch of money.
At the time it was released, it was the highest grossing indie movie of all time. Now it's not even in the top 10. There's been several that you've heard all of them. Hidden Tiger, Crouching Dragon. Passion is like the highest grossing ever now. It's like 600 million.
R.I.P. JC.
Yeah, we know a little bit about that movie.
Check out episode 100.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
But I know Stevie was surprised last pod that it was an indie movie.
I had no idea this was an indie movie.
Yeah, nobody wanted it.
No, I think the budget on this was $12 million, which is respectable for an indie movie, especially that came out in 1990. But it ended up making what, mid 200s, like high 200s. I thought it was 260 at the end.
It was like 200 plus, like globally, and like 160.
Yeah, pretty much right at 200.
That's
pretty
nuts,
impressive.
though.
I mean, that's
a ton
nuts
of
for an
money.
indie movie with very bad lighting, very bad directing, not the best dialogue. But what can you expect? It's a kids movie.
Do you know who did make it? Like, who ended up producing it? Or is that just like some random small...
I think
thing
New
that
Line
they
did Ooze. I can't remember who did this one.
The lead production company via IMDb is 888 Productions. But yeah, I think New Line Cinema picked it up.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wise move.
Roger Corman, he, I think, passed up on an early script of this. I don't know if you guys read into the history of this movie at all and how it was made, but as Brett kind of teased, it really passed through a lot of hands and went through a lot of different renditions.
The original one was super bizarre.
What's that, the comic?
Yeah, the one with all the comedians, and they were going to, like, dress in green face and...
Green face.
There we go.
That's one of the first scripts written. I think the original version of this, written by two guys.
Two brothers.
No, their last names are like
brothers.
East and Laird, but they wrote a Ninja Turtles comic. And that's mostly what this movie is based on, like directly at that comic, has some of the darker themes. But in 1987, as I referred to earlier, like when I was a little kid watching Ninja Turtles, it was this cartoon show just called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And Brett, I know you remember the crap out of that show.
Oh, yeah. I had all the toys.
Is that where the theme song comes from? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Is that
Yeah, I mean, that's playing right now. Brett,
Yeah, it's a good song.
this movie, how do you think it differs kind of like in tone and just in general from that original cartoon series?
Oh, well, the cartoon was definitely a lot campier and goofy. This one, I mean, like you said, they did this so they could get back to the darker comic themes. And, you know, it actually was dark. I mean, if you've seen 2 or 3, this is like night and day with those.
Like, yeah, night and day, dark and light. I
Yeah.
get it. But
like every like serious point though is like undercut with like a joke. The whole movie.
It's a kid's
Like
movie.
when Splinter gets captured, they're like they cut up to like some guy walking on the street, like shrugs his shoulders, like oh, like there's no like actual serious moments in this.
And the reason I'm bringing up the history of the Turtles here before we get into
that
the
an edit
movie
point?
proper
Oh.
is that... No, I'm just ignoring you because you like to stick your criticisms in early enough, and that's fine. You can keep going, but...
Just trying to contribute.
I feel like this, at least this movie for me, it has kind of a deeper sense of lore that I'm like really paying attention to. And I totally get it if other people that aren't as familiar with the series like I was, like, don't get into that at all. So...
Same.
Pappy, I'd put it to you, like, if you don't know the difference of the Turtles, what did you think about the backstory that's... I mean, they take pretty great pains to lay it out in this movie.
I mean, like, even I am vaguely aware enough of, like, what the general backstory was, that there's some sort of, like, radiation ooze involved. I didn't know anything about, like, Splinter having like, traveling here from Japan and, like, the origin stories of Shredder. That was all new to me, so that was pretty captivating, I guess. I don't know.
Did you think it was racist?
Oh, dude, there are racist moments and homophobic moments in this movie, which is usual for a Josh Long comedy pick. But
Whoa!
Van Wilder. But No, I didn't think the actual Japanese parts were too racist.
No, they weren't racist at all because they're trying to be like the old Japanese gang. I mean, what's racist about it?
Yeah, what's racist about it?
Sorry, you triggered me.
The green card joke.
Dang. All right. So the movie starts with a prologue, and the prologue is a montage voiceover by April O'Neil of this Foot Clan that was just mentioned stealing stuff, and it like really blatantly and obviously shows their like chain of command to the point where Danny is handing a wallet like directly to Shredder on the street.
Just a hand off screen comes in and nabs it. You're like, oh, that happens.
Yeah, like Shredder's dealing in the day-to-day wallet stealings on the street.
It's the old assembly line pickpocket scheme. We have to hand it to 50 people in order to get away.
Brett, how did you see the scene now differently than you did as a wee kid?
Which scene? The stealing?
Yeah, the whole beginning prologue montage.
I mean, I just thought it was like ridiculous how they removed 400 boxes in about 6 seconds, or just stuff like that I didn't really catch as much when I was a kid. But other than that, it seemed to hold up the same as what it used to. I mean, I don't know.
I disagree. I used to think it was like really dark, and like when they showed the foot soldiers like in the back of the van, I was like kind of creeped out.
Especially with their wire eyes.
Yeah, and now watching it, it's so funny. It's like broad daylight, and there's 4 grown men in suits like, pass us the goods.
And they make such a point of emphasis that there are no eyewitnesses to any of these crimes. There's just like guys
10
running around in the middle of the
people
day.
in one city. You ain't seen shit.
No one's seen anything. It's amazing.
Magic tricks. It's truly like a Ninja Vanish sort of theme that they got, which brings me to Act 1. After April O'Neil gives her voiceover, which it like in real life is her like 5 o'clock news segment. She's starting to walk home, and Pappy, what happens?
She was walking out of the news station. She walks in on a robbery, right, of her Scooby-Doo van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's the wrong place at the wrong time. And then...
So she's the first eyewitness then.
Yeah, the very first person.
News.
This movie is built on a lot of coincidences, and that's just the first of many that helps this plot hold together. But yeah, so she's the first eyewitness, and then the turtles like black out the lights and then tie up the bad guys and save her. And that's the first we get to hear of the turtles in the movie.
Also, what are those little swords called? I scared.
Sai.
Okay. That side looked like he was being pulled on a string into the light. Like,
Oh, come on. If you're
All right, well, shoot it in reverse.
man, if you're actually ripping on that, I gotta
it's
say,
like the one thing I noticed when I watched it. I was like, okay, that didn't move at all. It was just kind of like being pulled.
that image of the Sai hitting and the glass falling and the subsequent Raphael being like, damn, like really sticks out into my mind and my own cinematic
I did love
history.
his dams. The dams throughout were perfectly placed.
Not really what you expect for the first 5 minutes of a PG
No.
movie.
Well, that's why Turtles 2 turned out the way it did. The parents were not happy about this movie.
Damn.
Nice. Nice.
It's a weird way to introduce your protagonist, though, with like a black screen or something. I feel like something like a Super Mario like video game where it would just like go to black and you'd hear the fighting and they would cut back up and the guys are tied up.
It's ninjutsu.
But maybe, unfortunately for this movie, the fights that were like in dark were maybe the best ones. Also in Act 1, as we start to meet the turtles, April's taken down to the lair. Stevie wants to say something.
Oh no, I was actually kind of just captive. Like I was just really wanted to listen to. Keep going, please.
Yeah, so they go down there, and Splinter, like we already harped on, really explains the story just straight up. Like, this is the first adult human he's spoken to in 30 damn years. Like, he's ready to talk. He's got the coffee and tea already poured. He's ready. So
Come,
sit. And so we're kind of seeing the ridiculousness of the whole scene through her eyes, and then a little later, Raph needs to blow off some steam about the sigh, so he goes walking around. And one of my favorite lines as an adult...
He looks like he was going to flash someone in his outfit.
He has a huge trench coat on, ready to flash his non-turtle...
It's in the show.
We can talk about the anatomies later.
It's in the show.
Oh, maybe that's the trivia, actually.
Yeah, it's in the show.
It's in the half shell. So he's walking down, and he has a line in like the movie Critters, which is supposed to be like Gremlins, I think.
It was a very poor movie. I've seen it.
Critters is a movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
So it's a real movie on the screen, and he's like, he probably says, "Damn, where did they come up with this stuff?" Which is kind of reminiscent, right, Pappy, of like Cartman's like, this animation's so crappy.
Cartman, what are you talking about? You love Terrence and Phillip. Yeah, but the animation's all crappy.
And then they start walking
Pop,
down
pop,
the
pop,
street.
pop, pop. Yeah.
So anyway, coming up next, Raphael meets what kind of becomes the fifth turtle of this
Wayne
movie.
Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky, who plays cricket and eats crumpets. Brett, tell us about this scene.
Well, the thing that always sticks out to me when I watch it is when he gets those two muggers, how lucky one of them is and how unlucky the other one isn't. One of them takes a hockey stick right to the face and the other one gets tripped.
I think the one that actually steals it gets tripped. And the kind of bystander dude just gets...
Going back to the lair and being like, what happened to you? Why do you look fine?
Oh my gosh. But I don't. Just the two most volatile characters in the whole movie meet up in some back weird park area, and kind of leads to, I thought, a pretty funny scene where, you know, he's like, "What are you, some sort of punker?" And,
yeah. What is that? 80s people. What does that mean?
Just a punk, I'd imagine. I don't know.
What's a punker?
Punka. I don't know. The only usage of the word is from this movie, which was clearly very impressionable on me. I feel like I've been saying this line maybe.
What, are you some sort of
context.
punker? It's like, okay, I've never heard that, but ask Josh later.
Hey, what are you, some sort of punker?
Huh?
God, I hate punkers. Especially bald ones with green makeup.
But I mean, like, my brother and I have like repeated the cricket. You gotta know what a crumpet is. I mean, like, that's like one of the lines that stood out to us. I mean, we didn't know what it meant when we were a kid, but
Cricket?
Cricket? Nobody understands cricket. You gotta know what a crumpet is to understand cricket.
I'll teach you. Hey, 6 runs.
I still don't even know if I know what a crumpet is. Like a cookie or something?
It's a very loose woman from Britain.
I don't.
A thick, flat,
That's
savory cake.
Oh, that's a strumpet.
With a
my
soft,
bad.
porous
strumpet,
texture.
Strumpet. That's a strumpet. What I was gonna say
Made from
though
yeast
was
mixture.
Casey Jones is played by a dude who's been in 1,000 movies.
Elias
And
Codius?
Yeah, I like.
I
He
love
is.
him. He's great.
He is the perfect. That's that guy from that movie, but I'm not gonna know his name.
I honestly think this is going to sound like it came from left field, but Casey Jones in this movie is a like perfect portrayal of kind of like the underlying subtle rape culture that has been prevalent in our society for many, many years.
Well, the weird thing is, like, on one hand, April O'Neil's like very like empowered, and she's like a modern woman for the 90s. But on the other hand, like, she'll just take it when Casey Jones slams her down in a chair and gives her a neck massage, whether she likes it or not. Like,
That was the
like,
most
whoa.
awkward scene, and like if
He
you
was-
watch his hands,
He was
they're
a half inch away from her bags.
he's like way down on her chest.
Oh yeah,
like,
that first stroke was really low. I said something
It's
to
like,
Brittany. I was like,
whoa.
yikes.
Yeah.
She liked it though.
just to give our listeners some context.
Brittany liked it, or like April O'Neil liked it?
Brittany liked it, but
Whoa.
April definitely liked it.
So what happens in the scene is Casey Jones notices April has like a sore neck, he goes over, and without asking for any permission, by the way, just starts touching her neck, and she gives him a very clear no, shrugs him off, to which his response is to grab her by the neck, thrust her down in the chair.
Forcefully, just...
Yeah, like, boom, and basically grab the top of her chest.
Yeah, I got nothing. That's just very awkward and weird, and... I don't know. I don't even know if that was method acting. I don't know.
And Pappy, you mentioned that this movie had some homophobia. That comes from Casey Jones too, right? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, what is he?
Claustrophobia.
What is yeah? I've never even looked at another guy or something like that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, he like
it just really sticks out in a movie like this for children.
Yeah, he thinks Donatello's accusing him of being a homosexual, and he's like, "Yeah, do you want a fist in the face?" It's really weird.
Was that? But that wasn't what the parents were upset about, though, right, Brett?
No, it was the violence.
They
and the
appreciated that
weapons and
message in
stuff.
the '90s, Papp. They really appreciated that.
Under the bushes, that was much appreciated.
That was much appreciated.
It was the violence, though, like this movie's too violent.
What violence?
Watch the second movie. They don't even use their weapons in the second movie, like hardly at all.
Dude, but those yo-yo scenes, don't rule them out. They're pretty dope.
Yeah, well, I like 2.
If I could make any movie I wanted to with like unlimited budgets, because like I've been saying over and over again, this movie, I have to trace it back to inspiring me to become someone who works in video. But if I could make any movie, it would be updated Ninja Turtles where like Leonardo uses his katanas to cut someone's innards open. And it's...
The new ones aren't bad.
Directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, sure.
The
and
Shape of Turtles.
Guest starred by just
art
blood.
house, rated R, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies.
And it doesn't need to be like that the whole movie, but if there's going to be violence,
like Tarantino,
make it. Again, Brett, you seem to be sticking up for the fight scenes. What did you like about them?
Well, maybe not all the fight scenes, but I mean, I think the fight scene at the end with Shredder is awesome. I always thought it was awesome, but I don't know. There's some decent fight scenes where Raphael fights the guys on top. That's all right. I don't know.
Okay.
I like the fight scene when they threw the pizza up in the air and cut it into a lot of
and it lands on Splinter.
Turtle versus food.
Kids.
Okay, question. What is that island where the children go to become donkeys in Pinocchio, Pappy?
Pleasure Island. I have that in my notes.
Okay, Pleasure Island in this movie is hysterically funny. Especially when that kid walks up to Sam Rockwell, who I recognized immediately. And he goes, "Hey, do you have any cigarettes?"
You got any cigarettes? Regular or menthol?
Regular or
menthol?
Brett, did you know that was Sam Rockwell?
Yes, I have it written down, and I've recognized him throughout his career. Every time I saw him, I'd be like, "Oh, that's the guy from Turtles. Oh, that's the guy from Turtles."
And he doesn't just have that cigarette line. He's the one that at the end is like, "Oh, check out the West Warehouse on the East Island.
You'll find what you want to know."
And the cop's like, "All right, we're out of here." Totally gets him off the hook.
Skeet Ulrich is in it too. Ulrich, if any of you guys know who that is.
Name a movie character he's played.
Scream. He's the main bad guy in Scream.
Wait, does he have like slick back hair?
Yeah, he's the Billy.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking. Oh, okay, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
One thing that's really fun about this movie is to go read through like the cast, because I think Leonardo is the only guy played and
Raphael.
acted by
Raphael. Wasn't it Raphael?
Yeah, it was Raphael.
Yep.
Splinter.
Okay, sorry.
So anyway, the Casey Jones and Raphael fight ends with Raphael upside down in the trash can saying "damn" again. Damn! As Danny, the teenage boy who April O'Neil is kind of friends with, rats out his friends, and well, I guess they're not his friends yet, but he rats out the turtles.
I had such a problem with that, but I'll get to that later.
No, we'll get to. You can go ahead and go now. Let me finish. So he tells Shredder in a meeting that the Shredder says, "I am your father," and very much like Darth Vader, but the entire Foot Clan descends upon the sewers to find Splinter taken. Brett, the scene's supposed to be pretty epic and sad. What did you not like about it?
I mean, Danny just snitched on this location and possibly killed five people. And then at the end, he's just like, here's a $20 bill I owe you. Well, you freaking burned his house down. Their house down.
Nuh-uh. The bad guys would come into her house anyway. Like,
they didn't know where
whether
they were
or not
staying.
Danny. Well, he didn't know.
I don't know. He flip flops a lot during this movie. Go ahead. I mean, yeah. No.
I'm just curious to the actual relationship between Danny and April O'Neil and her boss, and why they're always hanging out at each other's houses. It's really weird.
That is kind of weird, yeah.
I feel like this relationship with Danny and April and the dad are maybe the one thing that grounds this movie into any sort of reality that you can relate to. Mm-hmm. And like he's a troubled kid and he flip flops a lot, and like his arc kind of ends with him telling his dad, "It's not Danny anymore. It's just Dan."
Damn.
It's like that's what this mischief
it's not
has been.
Pappy anymore. It's just Papp.
Yeah, Pappy, what did you think about this kind of C plot thrown in there?
I don't know. I mean, it could have actually been interesting if they would have like more explored the fact that like I think the bigger deal than like people's VCRs are getting swiped is that like there's a child army that's being grown in the like down by the docks. Like we should have explored that. Like where are the kids? What are they doing? Like that's the interesting story here. I wish they would have gone a little bit harder, I guess, in that direction and made it more of a B story than a C story.
I mean, yeah, like Pleasure Island was, I mean, it was actually directly like from Pinocchio, where the first scene is a kid smoking a cigar playing pool.
Playing pool? Yeah,
it's like, could they try any harder?
Direct reference, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good moment when he gives April the $20 bill at the end. And I mean, it's not really realistic that a 14-year-old kid's going to hand her like keys to a house to make up for an arson that the Foot Clan committed, that he was clearly sad about, by the way, Brett.
Where the hell did he get $20? Wasn't that a lot of money back in the day?
Yeah, I think that was worth like
her.
It was the same 20.
Yeah. If anything, April O'Neil should be thanking him for burning down that money pit of an antique store, and now she gets to collect all the insurance money.
All the insurance.
She's one of the top paid reporters in New York now. Like her life's awesome.
That's true.
Thank you, Danny.
So yeah, we're kind of deep into Act 2 now, and throughout Act 2, we're at the farmhouse, and we haven't talked about the farmhouse now, but it's kind of like, I don't know, April O'Neil has a defunct family house that apparently they're still paying property taxes on, but no one cares about the property. Yeah. Even though it's like fully furnished and like cars there and stuff.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's kind of nice actually.
Yeah.
She needs someone to help her out with her finances and stuff. She's just throwing money away all the time with old abandoned houses and secondhand stores that probably cost a ton of rent if it's in New York, even though it's not in New York. But
upstate New York, maybe? Is that what you guys are thinking?
Upstate.
Yeah, I'm just saying they filmed it in like North Carolina, so
the Hamptons.
And if you guys do some research, and I'll play a couple short clips from them, but the farmhouse is where the majority of the deleted scenes from this movie take place.
They could have deleted a couple more from the fucking farmhouse.
The thing is, the ones that they did delete, I think were possibly some of the more interesting ones, including they show in the movie as it is like 3 seconds of Michelangelo hitting this punching bag in like the barn, and I guess in the deleted scene he goes on to like just destroy this fucking punching bag and like knock a hole in the wall because he's actually like super depressed.
Yeah, it's like the first emotion, the only emotion he would have shown in the whole movie.
Which makes sense for his character since he's like always the happy-go-lucky that he's eventually going to crack, right?
Yeah, he's supposed to be the youngest. Yeah.
He's supposed to be the youngest?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I thought they were all the same age.
I thought they were all born at the same time.
Nah.
No, their mom squeezed out Raphael's egg first.
Yep.
Like, who was there counting that?
God, you are oldest.
I never, you learn something new about the Turtles every day. But I think Act 2 ends when they come back to New York, actually, and they're back. It's really subtle. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Or the meditating mind tricks where he's just sitting by a tree and he's like, oh, there he is.
It's so weird.
Yeah, this movie is really a precursor for The Last Jedi, if you think about it. Splinter was astral projecting to his...
The Last Jedi, as
much like Luke was to Leia.
as we've learned from Ice Pirates and now this movie, is a very derivative movie.
Borrowed heavily from
everyone.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Pappy, did you find any redeeming parts inside of the farmhouse?
No. Oh. No,
Bags?
not really. I was going to ask you this, though. What I thought is either the only good piece of writing or, like, something they band-aided together later. April O'Neil draws a picture of the blue one.
Leonardo, the leader.
One is kind of a pussy. And she, like, Danny just takes it from her. And then that is what leads to... Well, sure. But, like, why? And then Shredder finds that later. And it's kind of a nice through line for, like, Shredder, like, finally realizing that Danny was a traitor. Did you like that part?
Traitor.
Or was that just, like... Or did they just, like, write that, like, in later? You know what I mean? Like,
I thought that was actually Shredder's most impressive moment. Because he kind of, like, read Danny perfectly to the point where his, like, hand goes to his pocket and grabs
okay, but to be fair, Danny's like... Where were you? Nowhere. You're lying. He wasn't exactly like breaking them down. Yeah.
I actually think, and I glossed over it completely, which is a disservice. I think my favorite part of writing is, my favorite piece of writing, I should say, is the whole like Raphael arc where he's kind of like the outcast brother, goes out on his own, and like the whole dynamic between he and Leonardo, which is the blue one, Pappy, which I know you have trouble with. But they definitely have like a power conflict. I think you see that in Brothers and like small group of guys, and Raphael goes out and like gets his ass kicked, and Leonardo shows like true remorse and like restraint, and I don't know. I thought there was some real character development there, I guess.
Leo, don't.
Did anyone else have something to say about that?
I mean, yeah, I actually I like that part of the movie a lot. It's just kind of like you said, a power struggle where Raphael is just very headstrong and stubborn and nearly always right, and Leonardo really just wants to be the leader and take control. And there's kind of just an ever ebb and flow of not being able to do it by either one. So it actually is a pretty good part of the movie.
So what's the orange one's defining characteristic?
Michelangelo.
Well, okay, but what's his thing?
Partier.
He's a partier?
He's a surfer, bruh, from California, bruh.
And what's the purple one? He's
the smart one.
He's a smart guy. He's a tech guy.
He does machine.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Okay, so the Turtles come back to New York City, and they know Splinter is alive based on Splinter's Luke Skywalker-esque astral projection to the farm. And yeah, like Casey Jones is like totally on board, and I'm pretty sure after the massaging scene, like the next time you see them, they're like cuddling in the porch. I'm pretty sure they got it on that night.
Oh yeah.
That was definitely a how do you feel about last night type deal, and them talking about that. Yeah.
Which is weird because I heard that they had a baby 9 months later, and it was like kind of a shock when it was half turtle. And that's when Casey Jones left and wasn't back for Secret of the Years.
That's why he was like, I'm not coming back.
Okay, so they have the meditation and they come back to New York City. They go down and like spend a night in the sewers, and because Shredder reads Danny's mind and pulls out this Leonardo thing, the Foot again attacks the den. But this time, for some reason, the guys are waiting. Why were they waiting this time? Did they just wake up maybe and Danny was gone, so they assumed the trap was coming?
I don't know.
they're-
They were coming up with a plan, but yeah, that's good. That's a good point.
It's just like elements of the Force, like you were talking about. I'm your father. They felt danger coming. They're back.
Our second completely blind fight scene, when the foot enter the den and like all the steam starts going.
Oh yeah.
So there's just like this, and then like Raphael's eating an apple or something as everyone's down on the ground. But this fight scene continues from the sewers up the ladders onto the street, onto the top of a building, where the turtles finally confront. And Brett, you love this scene. They confront Master Yoshi's old nemesis, Oroko Saki.
Yep. They start fighting him one-on-one, like typical movie. And they all get pretty much the crap kicked out of him. And the only one who hurts him is Leo with the...
He gets like
twice.
a stab in.
He gets, 2 slices. That's pretty good, but...
Pretty sure Raphael gets like a kick in the chest in. Did you notice that? If we're gonna count blows.
He hits him on the arm, but he blocks it, I think.
Okay, I could have been mistaken.
Well, he kicks him in the stomach, but he catches it and flips him on his back, remember?
Okay, yeah, you're completely right.
Yeah, I've seen this movie more than once.
So yeah, they're getting their butts kicked, and there's kind of this buildup of emotion where at first they're just kind of testing this unknown guy out. Then they realize...
It was after one turn when the first one went. I think it was Donatello. They just go, he's good.
He like trips him. Oh, yeah, he's good.
He's good.
So they know he's good now. So like tension kind of builds a little bit.
Right.
Then they find out who he is a little bit, and the tension builds more. Then he kind of talks trash about the Splinter.
Yeah.
And at that point...
This glove's off.
Now, exactly... what point did we lose control here?
Maybe somebody ought to tell him that we're the good guys.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
I've only got one thought. This guy knows where Splinter is.
Well, that too, you gotta remember this is a kid's movie. When I saw this as a young child, I thought the turtles were just gonna roll through him. I was like, oh, he stands no chance.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to, especially since the cartoon, like, Shredder's like a little punk who runs away all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, oh, turtle's gonna blow through him, movie's over. But there was actually quite a bit of tension. And as a young kid, I thought one of the turtles was gonna die for sure.
Well, yeah, they almost did.
Where's Splinter?
Ah, the rat.
Huh?
So it has a name. It had a name.
You lie!
Do I? He dies.
Yeah.
But why do they attack him so stupidly? Why do they just come at him one at a time?
They're teenage
twice?
mutant Ninja Turtles, Papp. They're not grown adult mature Ninja Turtles.
It's also could be arrogance. That's pretty much what it comes down to. They want to beat the guy one-on-one.
This is probably the scariest scene of the movie. He has like this sharp knife right up by Leonardo's neck, like poking in.
I thought he was gonna go for it. I was like, uh-oh.
It'd be so gross. Like, what would a turtle's like guts and neck blood look like?
I've never killed a turtle. I honestly have no clue.
That's why the R version of this needs to be made.
Their innards are just full of pizza. Like pizza just goes spilling out.
Pizza!
Pizza! Yeah, that'd be funny.
Pizza.
So, of course, at that moment, Splinter, who's been Carrie Fishered for most of the movie, he's back, and he's on the roof, and he picks up Michelangelo's nunchuck, which is probably the most like comical weapon out of the four he could have had.
It's a twirl weapon. It's not usually used for a lot other than look at me, I'm twirling it.
So he twirls it to great success and catches Shredder's lance and flips him over, starts giving this long-winded speech. And I think by this point in the movie, Shredder's almost playing the point of audience where he starts pulling out a knife to throw at Splinter while he's on his like fourth long speech of the movie.
Death comes for us all, Urokusaki. But something much worse comes for you. For when you die, it will be...
Cuts the speech short. Splinter catches the knife that he throws at him and drops him down to where we have kind of the opposite of Splinter, Casey Jones on the ground, who gives the classic "Oops." Oops. And he like...
Oh, when he compacts him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he crushes that man to death.
It's so lighthearted how he slowly just crushes a man in a metal suit to death.
That wasn't murder at all.
They show a close-up of the helmet just like being crushed, right?
I mean, there's a million cops and ambulances on the way, but they couldn't just wait to be like, hey, you need to look at this guy. It's just ding.
Yeah, April's just like, you literally killed the only evidence that I have that it wasn't like a self-arson on my...
Or like, I could open it up, babe. You could still get an interview out of him. And so begins Secret
Spoilers.
of the Ooze.
It actually is a pretty fluid sequel. Like, it picks up right where it left off.
Except for the fact that Shredder would have at least multiple broken bones.
I think bones would be the least of his problems after that.
Yeah, but he would have been dead from that fall anyway.
Probably lost his balls to compaction.
Yeah,
balls,
he's jacked up.
Brain, like,
balls.
That's pretty much all you really need to...
Yeah, baby.
Can I say something about Splinter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of like the part where he gets caught monologuing. That's kind of like a subversion, Last Jedi style, of like a bad guy usually does, where they get caught monologuing. But the part where he's in the cage and he's mimicking his master's movements is the funniest goddamn thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
I knew you guys would. I knew you'd love that.
I fucking lost it and rewound it and played it again.
The practical effects of that, plus the like imagery of actual baby turtles like crawling around in like this ooze, has always stuck with me. I know that they had like a whole separate team shooting and
like
cutting.
the B-Squad.
Yeah, but I don't know. I really like those scenes too. What did you think, Stevie?
Radical.
Splinter's monologuing is so goddamn long-winded. It takes any pleasure you have of like you seeing this just out of it.
Turtles. Let me start from the beginning.
Let me start from day one. He just never stops talking. But it is I agree with Pappy though, that where he's in the cage and he's mimicking his master is quite hilarious. As well as him attacking Shredder. Like that part is hilarious when he's just like up in his face. I also laugh at that part quite hard.
I feel like with Splinter, the Jim Henson character design like really came through. I'm like, okay, this looks like other mice and rats that you've done before.
And yeah, I was
Like
surprised to
Rizzo.
find out there was no one like in his body properly. There's like 3 people controlling this rat at all times. Speaking of the suits, apparently the turtles dealt with some extreme heat, and some of that water you see on their like costumes might actually be the sweat from the actors. Like, it was nuts, man. They had a ton of rubber all over them.
Can you imagine like just the stank coming out, like undressing at the end of the day? Like this movie had to take at least a couple of months to make.
Garlic sauce and sweat and
those poor
pizza sauce.
bastards every day. Everyone's just like, oh,
Pizza again.
Did you hear them talk about like the motors in the helmet, like the mask they wore?
Yeah, like those helmets were super loud all the time.
Yeah, that's like deafening.
Seriously.
And then Judith Hoag wasn't invited back to any of the other Turtles movies, apparently because she complained too much on set. She didn't even have to wear one of these costumes or deal with puppetry. She sounds like a turd.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know the circumstances, but come on.
If I was one of those turtles, I'd be going to HR after the movie was done and be like, kick her ass out.
I'm sure they did.
One last note on the Turtles is that Donatello is actually voiced by Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
And there's a rumor that he only got paid $1,500.
It's like the best investment of all time for the movie studio. Because he was like the biggest star at the time.
How did they swindle that poor
Because this is an indie movie. He thought it was going to be like for promotional materials or something like that, and it was like a full movie. He didn't
You
play.
got like
him.
no rights.
From what I understood, it was just a flat $1,500. He bought like a TV and he was done.
That poor bastard.
Poor
also,
guy.
for these turtles not being CGI, I thought it looked pretty cool.
Definitely.
Like, I thought the suits looked awesome, especially the choreography going on like around with them. I thought like without it being CGI, it looked really neat.
And they did some tricks with frame rate, slowing it down and speeding it up because some of the animatronics were like a little slow, I think.
Little
and
buggy.
I think you can kind of see that little time ramping every once in a while. But the fight scenes, they're okay. I'm not going to rip on them too much more, but there's this one part in the last fight scene. I'm pretty sure it's Donatello and Michelangelo. Like, they link up and do this like roll thing, and it's like so much turtle crotch for like 10 seconds of.
It's a bit much.
What did that make you a little bit uncomfortable seeing that much turtle
They
taint?
rolled a football field. Like, it wasn't like a quick bit. Like
Turtle taint?
Turtle taint.
Turtle
Turtle
taint.
Tom Cruise taint.
Turtle Tom Cruise legend.
Hashtag
Yeah.
Turtle Tom Cruise taint. Tweet at us.
Turtle
T-shirt.
toe for sure.
That's the T-shirt, you guys. That's what we'll give people.
I
Turtle
swear to
Cruise
God,
taint.
I'll buy you a T-shirt that says that if you tweet that at us.
Hashtag Turtle Tom Cruise taint, and a T-shirt is yours. You have our word. I think that's about all I got. I think we can get into yes or no's if you guys are ready for that. Brett, you ready? All right, we'll have Stevie go first.
Ooh, I'm numero un? Okay. Twitter really needs to come out with like a Viggo Mortensen emoji, though, for real. I did not appreciate being called out by Jordan Long today at all. But
Oh, that was you? I didn't know that.
yeah, not appreciative of that at all. But I will give this movie a very limp Viggo Mortensen. Yeah.
Viggo Mortensen has to be a yes, I think.
Well, I mean, like
You
this,
can't be a
Not
Viggo
if he has a
Mortensen
turtle
movie, no.
penis and it's on the inside.
this is a very. It's like the softest yes I can give. I found myself. I hate the first act. Where like, the first, second acts are rough, but in the last act, I actually found myself enjoying this movie quite a bit. For it being a pretty low budget movie and making the money that it did, and also being a huge part of my life as a younger kid, I will give this movie a very soft yes.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go. I'm really pleased we're able to just do a pod on this, and hopefully this movie, of all the turtle renditions, at least for me, kind of withstands some sort of test of time. I feel like there's going to be so many more iterations in the future, and they're going to keep recycling this franchise to death. But to me, this will always be the quintessential TMNT. There's definitely weak points, and when you watch it as an adult, they'll stick out big time. But the practical effects are pretty darn good. For me, it brings back a lot of nostalgia, and I got to read this quote from a critic because I think it's hilarious. I don't want to name him, but he said, "The turtles are, quote, never remotely convincing as teenagers, mutants, ninjas, or turtles, leaving them stranded on screen as big green Muppets with different colored headbands." And I think that's like pretty true, but there's just something about this movie that has always captured my imagination, and I'm glad you guys all agreed to do the pod with me, even though it's kind of a crappy movie, and it's a yes for me. Brett, go ahead now.
I'm with you. I have really good memories of this movie, and I've seen it so many times. This is definitely actually a solid yes for me. I thought it held up pretty well. I thought the fight scene at the end with the turtles and Shredder is actually quite dark and gritty, which I think they were going for, and I thought they nailed it there. And I think it's funny. I think it's entertaining, and it's a movie that I'll continue to watch throughout my life, probably. So, definite solid yes for me.
Will you show your would-be future children this movie, and if so, like at what age?
early. I don't care about that kind of stuff. I watched Predator and Terminator when I was 5, so thanks, Grandma, Grandpa. Definitely, maybe 8 or 9. Let's go with 8 or 9. Be safe.
And Pappy.
Yeah, this is a no. No, dog. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like, having no nostalgia factor for me, I think this shit just sucks. Like, the Turtles, like I said, I really can't tell them apart. Like, I guess there are subtle character differences, but they kind of blend into one big, stupid, dumb thing to me. I was really frustrated by, like, in the whole first act, and then I tried to just, like, let my brain go, okay, let's watch this as a so bad it's good movie. But the fact that it's, like, for kids, I don't know what age exactly, but the fact that it's for kids, it just doesn't go far enough for it to be, like, crazy or entertaining for me as an adult. Like, the mistakes I think that Josh mentions are some of the funniest parts, like, especially like when Shredder's falling down, it looks like really weird and sped up. Like, that's what I liked about it. When it's so bad it's good, but it doesn't get bad enough for me to have a good time. So it's a no dog for me.
Damn.
Man, I feel bad for you not being able to enjoy this movie. So
The one thing I did like was the Jim Henson character design. I had no idea that he did the Ninja Turtles and the Rat and stuff, but
didn't you like Danny's Sid Vicious t-shirts? They're pretty rad.
They were pretty cool. I would wear one of those.
Didn't you like the Foot Clan?
No, that's the stupidest goddamn name I've ever heard.
I honestly think that the initial writers were like, okay, they'll have a bunch of foot soldiers. Now what can we call this?
The Foot Clan.
The Foot, yeah. It's like a bad writing room.
Give this man
point.
a raise.
No, they said it was like a play off the old something called The Hand. I don't know if that was in like Russia or Japan or something, but it was supposed to be Italy. There we go. It's be like a play on that. So
it's the mafia. It's the Black Hand.
I think that's a way you explain away your shitty writing later. I read that tidbit too, but those are the yes or no's.
3 yes, 1 no.
3 yes, 1 no. Pappy as the no. Designate a food for this movie.
When I used to have pet turtles, Koopa and Lockjaw, the way I would feed them was I had a needle on a string, and I would take a nightcrawler, and I would stick it through the nightcrawler's head, and I would dangle it all the way down to the edge of the string, and the turtles would come up and eat it. So I'm going to call it gushy, yucky nightcrawlers. Yes. Turtle food.
How about moldy pizza?
You like penicillin on your pizza? Pappy, that was a really dark story about your childhood. I'm sorry you had to do that.
I thought
I just wanted to share that with you.
It was going to get a lot worse.
But you guys got all to nostalgia. I wanted to nostalgia.
That's nostalgia?
Yeah.
Our nostalgia is watching movies. His is stabbing worms.
Stabbing worms and feeding them to their death.
The turtles loved it.
We watched movies. You watched The Face of Death.
Yep.
Well, you know what? Before we get into our trivia, which will determine our next movie review movie, let's go ahead and toss it over to Spoiler Man and keep everyone in suspense. Spoiler Man, take it away, please.
Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is podcastspoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme. Our number is 903-776-4507. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe on SoundCloud or iTunes. Please don't forget to leave us a review by searching for Movie Spoilers, clicking on the cereal bowl, select the Reviews tab, and leave us some stars and some words.
All right, we are back. And we are ready for trivia for those of you who don't know. Spoilers, movie review, movie game. What is it called, Pappy? What the hell do we call it?
The movie review game.
It's a movie review game. The winner of which gets to choose and host next week's movie. It's kind of a big deal. We brag about it all week behind the scenes in our G-chat threads and personal text messages. But anyway, we determined during the break Stevie will go first because he just did Cliffhanger. But Stevie,
T.
And you guys can't choose within 5 of each other.
Yeah,
okay? Because you can't you can't 5 episodes. Can't you?
No.
How many episodes were there of the original animated series Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? So it's not Price is Right. You can go over. It's just closest to flat out. Stevie, you're on the clock.
I will say 79 episodes.
Pappy, you are.
So I gotta go 5 over?
You can only go within 5 of what Stevie's 79. And
but you
your
didn't say how
last
many years or whatever it ran? It's a cartoon.
I did not say that.
Does it? Were there 2 episodes in a 20-minute show? How does that work? Like
No, that's 1 episode.
1 episode?
1 episode is a 20-minute episode. And yeah, your last movie was Ice Pirates, as we move back in time. Just to give some shout outs to our previous episodes. But do you have a guess for us?
I'll go. What did Stevie say?
79.
I'll go 179.
Okay. And
is that okay to guess? Is that within 100?
I was originally going to guess 100, so I'll just stick with 100.
Okay. So 79, 100. Let me do some quick math here.
Wait.
Pat, you're not involved.
I'm doing some quick math. Just joking. It's a pretty easy one to see who won. This show actually lasted up until 1996 with 193 episodes. Pappy.
Papp.
Pappy, this is probably Papp to back to Papp or some bullshit
Papp
like that.
to slap to Papp.
What you got for us?
Oh, well, usually we toss a spoilerman right now to give me some time to think, but...
While you think for a second, let's pass it back to the host, Joshaman, because I've been meaning to say this for a while. Pappy's about to pick a movie. To all our listeners out there, the best way you can enjoy spoilers, tell me if I'm right, Stevie, is to watch said movie this week with us, tweet at us. We have a lot of sick jokes ready. And
easily the best way.
And then listen to the spoilers episode.
Yeah, that's easily the best way
You'll
to do it.
You'll pick up on
frankly.
so much more.
Yeah.
And not only that, you could call in.
Yeah, we really
Leave
do
a
need more
voicemail.
call-ins. And Jim McMasters, we're still waiting to hear from you, you little bastard.
That coward, dude. Well, does anyone check our email? There could be an email waiting.
We have a litany of Jim McMasters emails just waiting for us.
And you, Chuck Freebie, calling you out.
No. Chuck Freebie is nice and my friend.
Sorry. That could have been McMasters today ripping on you, Stevie. He doesn't think you're allowed to talk about westerns because you know nothing about them, remember?
Apparently not, but I'll say this. Hostel is one of the greatest westerns ever made. Go see that movie.
For my next pick.
Go see that movie, people.
Usually around this time of year, we like to pick up on a movie from the previous year that we may have missed. I think last year Stevie did Midnight Special at this time.
Yeah.
And you said, he had the quote, I don't think it's the best movie of the year, but it's my favorite. So I'm going to go with what I don't think is the best movie of 17, but it's my favorite. A movie called Brigsby Bear.
I've already watched it 3 times. So pumped to do this movie.
Can't wait to give this a no as revenge for your turtles no, Papp.
Hey.
I'll say this. Yeah, like Papp said, it's not one of the best movies of 2017, but it is so likable and fun to watch. That's going to be a fun one to do.
That was spoilers. I think it would have been awesome if, like, at the end, when he's like, I made another funny, and it's like a really lame joke that's totally not funny. I think what would have been hilarious is if you looked up cowabunga and it meant like turtle taint in Japanese or something. So he actually was making like a really funny euphemistic joke. That's all I wanted to say. Spoiler man.
Does it have a meaning?
I think it's just maybe from this movie.
Is that just?
I think it's
okay.
surf slang.
It makes no sense that he would have pulled this from
Cowabunga,
Eastern.
used to express delight or satisfaction. As in, cowabunga, it's an actor's dream.
Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes in a half shell. Turtle power. They're the world's most fearsome fighting team.
We're really hip.
They're heroes in the half shell. And they're green.
Hey, get a grip.
When the evil Shredder attacks, these turtle boys don't cut them no slack. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Splinter taught them to be ninja teens.
He's a radical rat.
Leonardo leads, Donatello does machines.
That's the